Oh, we've already talked about a lot of that during this interview. I think at this point we're having a debate because I think you disagree with me, so I'm done.
We asked about a proposed 24-story building in downtown, why one Columbia City Councilman walked away from our interview.
One of the worst storms on record, how Mid-Missourians can help Filipinos.
And after 9 years, Ryan Ferguson could leave prison as early as tomorrow. KOMU 8 News at 10 starts now.
From Studio 8A, coverage you can count on in high definition. This is KOMU 8 News at 10.
Imagine a 24-story high-rise apartment building next to Mizzou's campus. It would easily become Columbia's tallest building. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jim Reek.
And I'm Brittany Pieper. Thanks for joining us. Take a look. You can see where the proposed apartment complex would sit on 6th and Elm Street, right where Bengals and Casablanca Restaurant share a parking lot now. Some are excited about a possible development for downtown Columbia, but not everyone is on board. KOMU 8's William Joy is here with information on the proposal.
Jim and Brittany, there's no question that this building is creating debate, and the idea of building up is leaving many wondering about the character and future of downtown.
I wouldn't necessarily want a 24-story building.
I think it's a great idea.
I think it would draw too much attention, kind of takes away from the skyline.
I actually think it's a great idea. I think Columbia needs to build vertically.
A 24-story building is certainly something way out of character for this particular neighborhood.
The possibility of a 24-story building replacing the lot Bengals and Casablanca sit on now definitely splits any crowd you talk to.
It is a building that is big. There's no question about that.
A rendering of the building shows that the development company plans to put retail stores on the first floor of the apartment complex with a pool overlooking Jesse Hall and an underground parking garage for half its residents.
Right now I'm on top of the 5th and Walnut parking garage, which is 10 stories tall and the biggest building in downtown Columbia. But the proposed building is more than twice this height.
The city's Columbia Imagined Development Plan, which included outreach to more than 80,000 residents, lists as one of its goals, quote, the personality and character of neighborhoods should be preserved, and the city should provide incentives, tools, and protections to discourage contextually inappropriate redevelopment. But some at the city think the high-rise is a good fit.
I think it's a marvelous development. You know, because again, Columbia's either going to have to go out or up, and I'd rather see it go up than out.
The focus of the plan was planned intensification of the densities. Well, you don't do that without going vertically.
Schmidt says he's going to wait before he makes any final judgments.
It's not really clear to me that it's contextually inappropriate. You know, I haven't had the plan presented to me. We will have a development agreement, I guess, coming to our next council meeting.
The property, like most of the Brookside apartments, is zoned for C2, which means there's no restriction on height, distance from the street, or parking capacity. So the only way the city could stop the development is through a moratorium.
We could do that. I'm not sure that would be a wise thing to do.
But after saying he'd wait to look at the plan, Schmidt got upset when I asked him what he would look for.
You say you want to look at the plans. What is the thing that you're looking for in the plans? Is it height? Is it parking? Is it development on the bottom floors? Is it design? Like, what is it to you?
Oh, we've already talked about a lot of that during this interview. I think at this point we're having a debate because I think you disagree with me, so I'm done.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
All right.
At that, Schmidt returned to work at his desk. Despite his reluctance to go further with the discussion of the project, city officials are still looking it over, especially when it comes to parking. Zinner says because C2 zoning doesn't require developers to build parking, the city can capture revenue from meeting extra parking business.
Our role is to build municipal structures in order to capture those parking demands. What we're seeing, however, is the parking demands are now exceeding the capacities of what we have available.
But as Schmidt said earlier in the interview, the parking issue doesn't worry him.
I'm claiming that over time it will sort itself out. That the kind of person who doesn't want to have a car will choose to live downtown. The kind of person who does want to have a car will choose to live at one of the other developments.
Whether or not the developer ends up building the 24-story high-rise, it certainly raises some questions about the future of downtown.
Now, because of the zoning issues with C2 zoning, which has no height or parking restrictions, the city is currently in the process of hiring a consultant to help advise the possible rezoning of Columbia. As far as the building, the city expected an agreement by the last council meeting, but that was delayed because of legal discussions, so the development should be at the November 18th meeting.
Ryan Ferguson could walk free as soon as tomorrow. Last Tuesday, his attorney Kathleen Zellner filed a motion to release Ferguson on bond. The Missouri Western District Court of Appeals gave the state 1 week to stop that motion. If tomorrow's deadline passes and the state does not act, Ferguson could be out of state custody for the first time in 9 years. Ferguson was convicted for the murder of Columbia Tribune sports editor Kent Heitholt in 2005, but the court vacated that sentence last week. Tomorrow's decision is not whether to refile charges against Ferguson. The state has until November 20th to do that. And Ferguson's lawyer, Kathleen Zellner, tweeted today, "We are on our way to Missouri. We will not leave until Ryan Ferguson walks out of the front door of the Jefferson City Correctional Center." Stick with KOMU 8 News tomorrow on air and online at KOMU.com for the latest on the Ferguson case. We are following a developing story right now. Between 400 to 500 people are out of power tonight. Columbia Water and Light tells us that most of the outages are near Scott Boulevard. Crews are working to get the power back on. As of right now, the cause of that outage is unknown.
Tonight, the Columbia School Board discussed tweaking the district's collective bargaining plan. Last year was the first year Columbia teachers had exclusive bargaining rights to negotiate pay, hours, and working conditions. Each board member agreed that negotiations during this process should be open to the public, but there was no vote tonight.
I do hope that the board would come up with a more collaborative approach and not just having an exclusive representative. Having a multiple representative and having everybody at the bargaining table would be more beneficial.
The board also discussed how the $50 million bond will be used. $41 million of that will be used for projects including a new elementary school, a new early childhood center, improving technology, and getting rid of trailers. The board's next meeting is December 9th, where these issues will most likely be discussed again.
A war vet loses his home on Veterans Day. Missouri Red Cross volunteers helped a Korean War veteran whose house burned down in rural Sunrise Beach. Camden County Police told the Red Cross this afternoon, and they sent volunteers to the home. The man is staying with relatives, and the Red Cross is giving him some financial aid. The battle may not be over for an increasing number of veterans after leaving the war front. Servicemen and women returning from Iraq and Afghanistan are experiencing symptoms of PTSD at a growing rate. Nearly 30% are facing psychological trauma after returning home from war. That's up from around 10% during Desert Storm. Part of the increase could be due to servicemen and women serving multiple tours. One local psychologist says symptoms of PTSD and depression are inevitable.
Keep in mind that everybody coming out is going to have some symptoms for a little while. The question is how long.
Anderson says he believes after 1 year, around 60% of people affected will be doing all right. He attributes this to personal resiliency and treatment.
Chilly temperatures across mid-Missouri tonight. Let's send it over to Dave for a check of the forecast.
Well, we're already at 30 degrees after a high earlier today, believe it or not, at 62. That came about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Ever since then, temperatures have been falling. Here's a look at live Doppler rate, first alert radar, and satellite composite. Some of our northern counties, Macon, Moberly, Madison, Paris, getting some light snow in those northern part of the counties. Here's our present temperatures. It's 32 at Jefferson City. A little warmer at the lake, 36, but check Macon and Moberly at 28 degrees at this hour. Over the next 12 hours, we're going to see those skies begin to clear. By the time you're out the door tomorrow morning and headed for work, we're looking at about 19 degrees. We'll have more on that forecast, and there's still another cold night to get through coming up on KOMU 8 News at 10.
600 applicants and only 120 winners. Which Columbia school was named one of the most military-friendly in the country?
Plus low temps tonight. Coming up, how to get your car ready for the cold.
Insurance companies are out to make a profit. Our job is to make sure they do the right thing. They have contracts. They have entered a contract to provide certain coverages. So if you're injured and it's one of their insured drivers, they're going to owe you money. One of the really unfortunate things is sometimes it's your own insurance company. You have coverages, they don't tell you about it, you weren't aware of it, but we're going to make sure that we read all the insurance agreements. You better have an experienced legal team working on your side, and that's exactly what you'll get here.
Looking for a reason to get a Ford SUV with an EcoBoost engine? I got 10.
To hear that there's an SUV that got that kind of mileage, that's very exciting.
That's because Ford mileage beats Toyota in every segment we compete.
You could hear the oomph. This feels like a sports car, man.
That would be the EcoBoost. Next up,
Had amazing control, safety, intuitive,
3 rows.
Not a bang for your buck.
And the number one reason? That sums it up nicely.
Now, get up to $22.50 cash back or 0 for 60 plus up to $17.50 cash back on Escape. Only at your Quality Ford dealer.
Always know what's coming ahead of the storm. Download the free KOMU8 weather app today. Brought to you by Missouri Cancer Associates.
600 applicants and only 120 winners.
This year, Columbia College is celebrating Veterans Day with a special honor. KOMU8's Danielle Carter is live on campus with more on the college's new title. Danielle?
I'm here at the Military Service Tree here on Columbia College's campus. It was lit around 5 p.m. this afternoon. Now, they light this tree every year on Veterans Day in honor of those serving in the military. However, this year the lighting ceremony was a little bit more special. That's because Columbia College was just received the award for being one of the most military-friendly colleges in the nation. Columbia College has a long history of military support, and the Assistant Director of Veterans Services says it's paying off.
We have a long relationship with the military. About 40 years ago, we were reaching out to military and veteran students on military campuses during the Vietnam War when most people were pushing their military students off of their campuses.
Glindeman says he thinks the help Columbia College provides to veterans contributes to its success.
We help them line up their benefits through the GI Bill. We might help them with tuition assistance questions and problems they might have to get, their funding through the government. We also help them line up tutor services if needed. We make referrals to outside agencies such as counseling through the VA.
And some students agree, saying the school was a right fit for pretty much everything.
The school had the right pricing, it had the right degree, it had the right set of people and the teachers versus the students, and I just thought that this was going to be a great fit for me, so we went with Columbia College.
Hillary also says his experience working in his career field while taking classes gave him valuable skills.
Being a help desk analyst, I get to do the things that I'm studying right here as I'm doing it. And so if I wasn't working here also, there's no way I would gain that type of experience.
Last year, the college won another award for being the 12th largest provider of education to the military. Reporting live in Columbia, Danielle Carter, KOMU8 News.
Mid-Missouri's Quilts of Valor gave 9 veterans a surprise gift this Monday morning. Satin Stitches, a Columbia sewing and embroidery shop, hosted this QOV presentation for the 4th year in a row. The group presented each veteran with his or her own personalized quilt. The group's director says her group regularly receives requests for quilts, and they try to hand out as many as possible.
It's being called the strongest storm ever. Coming up, how you can help out.
High fashion stores slated to open in the Columbia Mall. What experts say this means for the city's economy.
Well, good evening to you. I guess by now you can tell that a cold front has moved through, and easy to see where it is on this particular sort of an unusual cold snap.
I agree with you. All right, Dave, thank you very much. Speaking of the weather, tonight could be the first night we have temperatures in the teens. You might consider getting your car ready for the cold weather. Greg Fouch, the general manager of All-Star Automotive, says he's seen an increase in customers getting ready for the cold. He says you need to check your fluids and coolants. He recommends carrying blankets and gloves in your car just in case it breaks down. And you might have noticed your tire pressure has dropped.
This time of the year, as the temperature changes, you will see the pressures drop in your tires. Doesn't mean there's anything wrong. It's just a difference in air temperature, so you want to get those checked.
Another common problem is the battery. Making sure your battery's posts and connections are corrosion-free will certainly help.
A new H&M store coming this fall to Columbia may reflect Columbia's strong economy. The Columbia Mall manager did not go on camera, but told KOMU8 News roughly 7 current stores will have to move to make room. He would not say where in the mall the new store will go or which stores will move. The president of the Columbia Chamber of Commerce says larger corporations are taking an interest in Columbia because of its youthful demographics and diverse business community.
The economy in Columbia has been fairly stable through the last number of years, even through the recession, although things weren't necessarily great, but things weren't necessarily overly bad. We weathered the storm rather well, and it's due to the diversity of our, a number of things, but one of the things is due to the diversity of our business community.
KOMU 8 News contacted H&M to get more information on the plans for the store, but it did not return our phone calls or emails. Thousands are still reeling after a typhoon slammed through the Philippines. How Mid-Missourians are sending support overseas.
But first-year lottery numbers, good luck.
After what some are calling the most powerful storm ever recorded, thousands of families in the Philippines are mourning the loss of loved ones while searching for food and water. In the city of Tacloban, which has been called ground zero for the typhoon, only a few concrete buildings are still standing. Philippine authorities said the storm affected at least 2 million people and the death toll could top 10,000. The UN's World Food Program says it is sending $2 million in food to help the victims. Here in Missouri, the state chair of the National Federation of Filipino American Associations is also working to relieve those in the Philippines, including her own family. Anacita Sancho made 9 phone calls to the Philippines to find out if her family survived Typhoon Haiyan. Fortunately, she says her immediate family is alive and she now wants to provide for them and others still there.
A dollar goes a long way in the Philippines. And, you know, I would really appreciate that if we can get a lot of donations.
The American Red Cross activated its family tracing services for those who have not been able to contact their families. Both say monetary donations would be best for this effort. For more information about Sancho's story and where you can donate, you can visit our website, KOMU.com.
Next in sports, high school playoff highlights.